So each one of these little pods is the same as how many cigarettes? 20 cigarettes. Now because it's got a flavorful taste to it, people are sucking off it a lot and getting a whole lot more nicotine than they would if they were smoking cigarettes. Nicotine has effect on the youth brain that I'm going to talk about in a moment. Next slide. Here's my concern, and this is what I want you all to walk away with, all right? 63%. That means if I had 100 people in the room that were all using the Juul cigarette, 63 of those people didn't know they were getting nicotine. That's kind of scary, isn't it?
Sad.
That is sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, this is what I want when we say we're spreading the seed. All Juuls contain nicotine. So Arca, one of your friends says, no, it's water vapor. There's no nicotine in it. What do we say?
No.
That's not true. We got some good information we can provide to them to help straighten them out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So 63% of people do not know there's nicotine in the product. Okay? 100% of this room now knows it, right? And you're going to share that, right? Very good. Thank you. And when people talk about, does anyone have a relative or anyone that smokes cigarettes or has ever tried to quit smoking? It's a difficult thing for them to quit because they are addicted to nicotine. And nicotine is what we're talking about in these products. Next slide. So what is nicotine? Have you guys ever seen a tobacco plant down south? Yeah, there's huge fields of them, right? Well, all nicotine comes from tobacco products which come from this plant, okay? So nicotine is a drug, okay? It is like caffeine. It's a stimulant. So what it means is when you use the product, it makes your heart pound faster, makes you breathe faster, blood pressure goes up, and your oxygen goes down. It's a stimulant. Well, here's the thing. While all that's happening, your brain's going, oh, but I feel so good. That sounds almost backwards, right? So while your body's feeling one way, your brain is telling you it feels the other way. And that's the trickiness with the drug of nicotine. If you guys have questions, ask them, remember. So nicotine is one of the most addictive drugs out there. More people use the drug of nicotine than any other drug out there. Why do you think that is? Why?
Because your brain is telling you what's good for you.
When you're addicted, definitely.
Because there's more flavors that people would probably want to try and stuff.
With the nicotine, that would entice them, yeah.
They're in all these things.
Yeah, nicotine's in all these products. And you know what? You could buy nicotine at any store if you're over 18, right? In cigarettes. So it's out there, right? Did you want to add something to it? No? Did you, Emma?
Just gonna say because it wasn't illegal.
It's not illegal for adults, but under 18 years old, it's most definitely illegal. And they're trying to raise the age up to 21 right now, too. 100. I think Hawaii is trying to raise the age of smoking to 105.
Really?
Why do you think that is? Because then no one will get it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So nicotine is found in all tobacco products. It's known to cause changes in your brain of chemistry. It's poisonous to babies when women are pregnant and they continue to smoke. And in its liquid form, it's very dangerous. It's poison. I grew up on a poultry farm. This is a cool story. And one of my first jobs was cleaning the chicken coops and collecting eggs. And we used to have to keep the bugs out of the chicken coops. So I had this jar, and I used to have to dip a feather in it, and I'd have to go along the edge of the nesting boxes. And it was to keep the bugs out of the chicken coop, and that was nicotine that we were doing. Nicotine is a pesticide that's naturally found in the tobacco plant. Isn't that crazy? And that's what people are smoking. So where can you find nicotine? Well, this is what the dried nicotine or tobacco leaves look like. We know that we find them in cigarettes, right? Cigars, that's another product. Hookahs, that's another product too that is a tobacco product, but they smoke it out of a long pipe and it kind of comes in a chunk and smells perfumey. E-liquids, chew, and e-cigarettes. Nicotine can be found in all these products. How old are you when your brain is fully developed?
Answer.
I think it's 25.
25! Good answer. Good answer. 25 years old. That's when your brain is fully developed. You weren't looking though, right? So your brain is still forming. And right now at the age you are, from 12 to 17, the front part of your brain, which they call the prefrontal cortex, is just going to town. It is just all kinds of communication going on, and I want to read this to you the way I wrote it. So, that front part of your brain is forming, and during this time in your life, they say that your brain is more susceptible to nicotine. That means that your brain is going to have a greater effect of that nicotine because it's still forming. So, the nicotine is going to hit your brain stronger, and you're going to become addicted much, much quicker because your brain is still forming right now. All right? So that's my concern right there, is how quickly kids whose brains are still forming can get addicted to nicotine, but how they have a harder time stopping using once they've started using. And within the first few times you use those e-cigarettes, your brain is already starting to get addicted to it. That's pretty scary when you think about it, right? So when I say addicted, your brain starts needing it, or else you feel kind of yucky. Okay. Any questions? You guys are going to take my every word for it. All right. So I'm going to go back to that slide for a moment. So when we talk about nicotine, how does the nicotine get in your body? So breathing something in is how it gets into your body the fastest. So with an e-cigarette or a cigarette, you breathe it in to your mouth, it goes to your lungs, from your lungs to your blood, it goes to your brain within 7 seconds of taking that inhalation in. When it hits your brain, you start getting those feel-good chemicals. I like this feels good, even though everything else, oops, I probably shouldn't be hitting the mic. Everything else is telling me that your body is in a state of stress, okay? So it's very tricky how it's doing, and it hits your brain within 7 seconds, and you start getting those, I like this feeling. Next slide now. So what are our concerns with this? This is the effects of nicotine on your lovely forming brains right now. And this is our concern because at this age, this is something that will affect how your brain is going to work the rest of your life. So, as I said, your brain is more sensitive to nicotine, okay? And the nicotine in your brain starts changing the brain chemistry in that frontal part of your brain, okay? So the parts of your brain it's going to affect would be decision making. What is that? Deciding what's right and what's wrong. Making good decisions, right? And that's very important at this time in your life, isn't it? Critical thinking skills. How you communicate with other people. Creativity is one of those skills. Oh, being open-minded. Being able to think outside the box and see someone else's point of view. That's a critical thinking skill. Problem solving. You do a lot of that in school and everyday life, huh? And then thinking of what the consequences of our actions would be. Well, that's just part of growing up right now. Imagine having a little bit of a harder time doing that. Lowers impulse control. What do you think that means? It is that being able to control yourself. That's really what it is. If you act on an impulse, you just do something, right? Being able to control yourself. You're learning that at this part of your age, to control those quick thinking, spontaneous things, right? Well, yeah, so imagine not being able to control that as well. Depression, anxiety, and other mood disorders. It can make you develop being depressed or having anxiety, which is like almost a nervousness that you carry with you every day. Or depression is a low-level sadness that carries with you. Disrupts the brain circuits that controls attention and learning. Well, that's a very important thing because you guys got quite a bit more schooling to do, right? 12 to 17, think about that. That's where you're doing a whole lot of your learning too. You need that brain functioning as it does. But then one of our concerns, and this is why my friend Sarah is here to add to this, is it primes your brain for developing future addictions. So not only being addicted and having your body need that nicotine, it opens up the doors to you getting hooked on other drugs. Well, it's kind of scary to think that, it is doing damage to our brains. So when people say nicotine is harmless, or the Juul is just a water vapor, there's no nicotine in it. That's not true. Nicotine is harmful to the youth-forming brain, right? Okay. Next slide. So when I said withdrawal symptoms are when you stop using something, like you're using the nicotine, your brain starts getting hooked on it, and then you stop. And the body doesn't like it. And the body acts up and makes you feel awful to make you go back to using.
So when people start, what's the state that they're in to make them start? Is it time, does it usually start when they're going through something that they need help with, or is it just?
It can, but you know what, Maeve? What it's turning out to be is peer pressure.
Yeah.
Hey, take a puff of this. Tastes like candy. That's really how people are getting started. And it's happening peer to peer, friend to friend. Not that your friend's a bad guy, but that they probably don't know what they're doing and to what degree. So what we're seeing a lot of it is people giving it to their friends. Hey, try this. We all know when people are going through hard times too, they do try to find other things to make them feel better outside the box. But this is part of what we're trying to prepare you with, is give you the tools so you make the right decision. So when you're 18 years old, you already know this is not for you, right? Did that answer your question, dear? Okay. So withdrawal symptoms. When I said that your body gets hooked quicker and you have more intense and more withdrawal symptoms when you stop using, this is the ugly, ugly list of things that could happen when we say withdrawal symptoms. I'm not going to read them to you, but it's pretty awful. Not everyone has the same degree of them. Some people have worse than other people do. But that's pretty nasty when you look at it, right? Does anyone want to be feeling cranky, anxious, not being able to think? Eating a lot, sweating, trouble sleeping, feeling jumpy, cramps, nausea? No one wants that, right? Yeah. Next slide. So, you guys are all smart kids here. 80% of people that smoke now started before they were 18 years old. Why do you think that is?
Because of all the stuff you just said, basically.
Tell me what it is. That was a great answer.
Their brain being more vulnerable to it.
Exactly. Your brain is more vulnerable to it.
And being tempted to do it.
Yeah, by your friends telling you, right? Yeah. Anything else? Because your brain is not forming right now and it is more susceptible to getting hooked on the nicotine. So I got another one for you. 99% of people that smoke started smoking before they were 25 years old. So we had 100 smokers in the room. 99 of them started before they were 25 years old. What age does your brain start developing? 25. Direct connection right there, huh?